รหมาจะโลกาธิปติสหัมปติกัดอัญชลีอันทิวรังอยาจทาสันติทัสสัตตาปาราชาคชาติกาเทเสตุธัมมังอนุกัมปิมังปัชชัง
นะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะบุญทังธัมมังสังฆังนามัสสามิ So I think this is the fifth week, fourth or fifth week of the rains. We have had lots of meditation, lots of time to encounter 5 hindrances, and think of that. Ajahn Khemavaro will go into more details for the upcoming Sutta discussion. And tonight's talk, I thought I'd offer some reflection and talk about the 5 spiritual powers. Because a lot of time we talk about, obviously, what's wrong with the meditation, where are the obstacles to peace, and it's good just to focus on what are the antidote, what are the powers, spiritual powers that we can use to counteract these hindrances or these obstacles. And it's called the 5 indriyas. The 5 spiritual powers that the Buddha talked about are faith, saddha, faith or confidence. 2 is energy, virya. 3rd one is sati, mindfulness. And the 4th one is samadhi, concentration, stillness. And the 5th, obviously, is wisdom. So tonight I thought I'd talk about the 2 most important ones. The first and the last one, faith and wisdom. But some of the scholars, some of the people talk about, you can see that is sometimes they're sequential. Starts out with faith. You have faith, energy arises naturally. When you have energy, you're naturally mindful, you're clear. It's not just an exercise in willpower, focusing, but when you have energy, mindfulness arises naturally. And when you're mindful, you'll see that the mind is easier to be concentrated. Samadhi happens. And with a still concentrated mind, wisdom arises. And so if you find that you're having a problem concentrating, the concentration is not coming together, then it's good to see what are the causal chain that we can improve on. And that's why, trying to remind people always, it's about causality. It's not so much about exerting our willpower, or focusing harder on the meditation object, but it's about what things that we can generate, what things we can bring into existence that allow for samadhi to happen. So last week we talked about one of the conditions for samadhi is happiness. A happy mind becomes concentrated, people say. So another condition for samadhi is also mindfulness. But everyone say, well, I'm not mindful. Well, now we have to understand what gives rise to mindfulness. And this is the energy. But first, we'll go back to saddha, faith or confidence. And it's important because it's the first spiritual power. Without faith or confidence, nothing happens. Right? You wouldn't be here. You would be somewhere else. You don't have faith in the Buddha's teaching, faith in your own ability to train the mind, faith that the Buddha is enlightened, that this thing works, or confidence. So with faith, sometimes it's also sometimes very delicate things, because we live in a world with obviously highlights, all the scandals, the things that can go wrong in the spiritual tradition, and we can see lots of it. There are lots of pitfalls in our traditions, in our spiritual search. Lots of charlatans, lots of fake teachers, lots of different things can go wrong. So it gives rise to a lot of skepticism, which is healthy. Before you go to any place, submit yourself. Yeah, it's good to look closely, to investigate whether any teachers, any tradition, any practice will bring the desired results. Faith doesn't arise. It's not just blind faith, in that because someone tells you, or because this practice is popular, or because the teacher is very charismatic or famous. Faith has many aspects to it, and the faith that I'm trying to encourage is the faith that gives things or practice the benefit of the doubt, but also it can stand the test of time, that can stand up to what is called investigation. And faith has three aspects to it. First is faith in the Buddha's teaching, faith that the Buddha was enlightened, but also faith in our own ability to train the mind. Faith and ability that we have what it takes to sustain the practice, to see clearly, and to know for ourselves. It's sometimes trickier. So we live in the world where a lot of people have faith in the Buddha, faith in the teaching of the monks and nuns, but then we live in a world that maybe we don't have faith in ourselves. We hear that a lot. Maybe everybody here is getting really good meditation, but I can't meditate. I have to do something else. So a lot of time it's just faith or confidence in our own ability. It's not making a self out of it, but it's understanding causality, that the Buddha is clearly enlightened, and he teaches things that for each and every one of us can realize for ourselves. The Buddha says, if people can't train themselves, I wouldn't be teaching. But because people can be trained, the mind can be calm, wisdom can arise, the teaching does work. And a lot of times you can see with faith, everything is easier. It's easier to wake up in the morning. You're not having to drag yourself out of bed because you have faith. Things are easy. You can meditate. You can be with the pain, be with the unpleasantness, be with the when things go wrong. Faith or confidence gives you steadiness, gives you persistence, which is sometimes hard to find these days. People want instant success, instant gratification. They want to be enlightened and then go on to do something else. I want to be enlightened, I want to go and write a book, go on the TV shows and tell how enlightened I am. Move on, do other things. But with the teaching, the training of the mind, the teaching of the Buddha, it takes a lot of effort, takes a lot of persistence. And you don't have faith, then generally you give up, do something else, try another method, another tradition, another way to distract ourselves, another way to find happiness somewhere else. But because we have faith to build up, that no matter how many times we lose the meditation object, how many times the mind wander, how many obstacles we encounter, we don't give up. We keep on walking the path, one step after another, one day at a time. Because we have faith that there are results, that the Buddha is enlightened, that the Dhamma is something that we can realize in this day and age, that is timeless, and that there are good practicing community of lay people, monks and nuns still. The practice is possible in this day and age. So having that faith that underpins our practice, we can be with the pain in the body, we can be with the mental distress, the confusion, the distractions, the irritations and the anger that comes up from time to time. We know that it's going to change. It's not us. And that we have what it takes to overcome it. And faith just makes it easier. You can see. Faith can move mountains. I think that's what they say. If you have enough faith, it's one shove at a time. You can move one brick at a time. You can move a whole mountain. If you persist in it, you don't give up. It happens. But you don't have faith and nothing gets done. So faith, it's what's, it's the beginning of the path, and you see why. It's the entry door to the other great spiritual powers. And with faith, like I said, energy arises naturally. You find it easier to get up. You find it easier to go the extra mile, to be focused. Easier just to be with the difficulties that arises from time to time. Even in monasteries, irritation does arise. That everybody is not perfect, everybody's not enlightened. And we're okay with that. We know that we'll have arguments and differences from time to time. But hopefully, each and every one of us is trying our best to not make a problem of anything. And then, like I said, with faith comes energy. With energy, the mind is just clear. It's easy to be mindful. Easy to be present with the meditation object. The mind doesn't veer up to the future or starts to wander, close back to the past. You stay where it is. With mindfulness, samadhi happens. Samadhi, wisdom arises. And wisdom, in the Buddhist sense, is the wisdom that transcends suffering. It's not the wisdom to win arguments over coffee tables. It's not the sparkling wisdom that makes you entertaining when you go to parties. You have good one-liners or you remember things. True wisdom, in the Buddhist sense, is the wisdom to transcend suffering. And wisdom to see clearly. The wisdom to know, to realize non-self. So how can you be angry? How can you suffer when there's nobody in here to suffer? And sometimes in the monastery you feel like sometimes you're being picked on. That some people are just so mean to you. Some monks just picked up your faults all the time and criticizing you. Which may not be true, but if there's no you to be picked on, then there's no problem. So sometimes, with arguments we get into, once you realize non-self, it's just not realizing that you're not there. So it's realizing the other person is also not there. They're also not. We have this perception sometimes that so-and-so is out to get me, so-and-so is annoying me on purpose. So-and-so is trying to make a problem for me. But we realize that so-and-so is also not there. and the suffering ceases. There's nothing in here, and there's nothing out there to make a problem. So therefore, there is no problem. Things happen, and there are differences, but those arises and they go away. So, as practitioner, we should reflect that any suffering that arises, any deterioration, any disappointment in our life, in day-to-day life, is usually, like I said, there is a self in there somewhere. There's some kind of self expressing itself in terms of expectations, in terms of wanting something, or not wanting something, trying to get rid of something, want to be right, want to be heard. So, my way is the best way. I know what to do. And that's the kind of a teaching Ajahn Chah reminds us over and over again. With wisdom, there is no problem. Problem disappears. So there's a problem, so reflect, where is it I'm missing? Where is it I'm not seeing clearly? Where is it that I'm expecting things that I cannot have, that the world cannot bring to me? So as we face our different challenges, obstacles, face the hindrances of sensual desires, ill will, irritation, slothfulness, doubt, or restlessness. Remember, the more we reflect that you're not there, we are not there, the less it is of a problem. Slothfulness isn't a problem. We don't suffer over it. Sometimes the body is tired, sometimes the mind is dull. It's just that much. No more, no less. It's the fact that I want to get rid of it. I want to have blissful meditation all the time. I want to have clarity. I want to have my jhanas that I've been reading about. I've been doing this for a whole 5 weeks already, Ajahn. What's wrong? Always try to remind people over and over again. It's not. We don't meditate to get a special experience. It's not another thing to have, to put in your resume, in your mind. It's not a thing to talk to tell your friend about when you go back home. It's not another thing to add to your spiritual resume. This is what you've got. It's about letting go. It's about erasing a sense of self. Yes, there are beautiful meditation and there are blissful things that happens, but it doesn't happen through our wanting, doesn't happen through our imagining, it doesn't happen through craving, happens through letting go, happens by being happy to be here, happy to be where we are, happy just to be sitting. And then the mind starts to open up and become more still. And then we did fluke a really deep meditation. Does that mean that is the only thing that's worthwhile? No, the rest of the time we sit, it's just a waste of time. So don't set up a mind that you're only happy if you get a good meditation. Be happy with all the meditation. Because all the meditation, all the time we sit, bring together. Salu Pulim said, he's a wood carver. So he carved a very beautiful Buddha statue that sits in his room, I think. And I always tell people, to get to that beautiful Buddha, you know how many times how many little funny looking Buddha I have to get through to get to this one beautiful Buddha finally? Yeah. But there's nothing wrong with the other Buddha statue. They are all had their place. It is through those funny shaped, misshapen statues that you get this beautiful thing. So in each of our meditation, the practice is not to get a good meditation. It's actually to understand our mind, to be with the experience. Be what is. Understand why the mind moves. Understand why the mind goes towards sensual desire. To understand why there's irritation in the mind. To understand slothfulness. And through understanding, the problem fades away. Wisdom arises. So that makes the job of meditation easier. Because you don't have to do anything, you have to get anywhere. Really. It's the easiest thing to do, because you just have to be here. Since you're here anyway, what else are you going to do? So once you understand the purpose of meditation, the purpose of practice is to be aware, to be awake, and to add a touch of acceptance and metta, a care and compassion. Everything becomes a joy. It's easy for the mind to be present because it's happy, it's content. So on this, as we continue our practice, the rest of the rains, reflect just on, remember, the 5 hindrances. It's good to understand them, but it's also good to know that there are tools that we can use, that there are these 5 spiritual powers that we can reflect on, empower, focus on, strengthen them to counteract the obstacles, the hindrances that appear in the mind from time to time. And the spiritual powers is something that we can always focus on. And it all starts out with faith or confidence. Faith and confidence, like I said, it doesn't matter how long it takes to practice. You'll continue it. And how many times you fail, you're still going to get up and continue walking. And that's the thing. If you don't give up, victory is yours. Today, tomorrow, 10 years' time, 10 lifetime, it doesn't matter. Time is just a construct. We've been doing this for hundreds and thousands of lifetimes. So what's another few lifetimes as long as we don't give up? So faith makes things really enjoyable, beautiful. Allows energy to rise. With energy, nothing's too difficult. And then when wisdom arises, there's no problem. Because you were not there anyway to begin with. So I offer that for your reflection this evening, the 5 hindrances, something to focus on, to develop, to strengthen for your welfare and happiness, also for the welfare and happiness of others. Dhammayang Dhammakatha Sadhu Karang Tathamase